Hey everyone, it's Matt Griffin with Talk Shop. Happy to bring another Industry Insider segment. I'm going to introduce my guest today in just a moment, but as I always like to do, if anyone wants to reach out to me and learn more about the Talk Shop programs that are specifically designed for high school and college students and the art and science, the life skill, if you will, the face-to-face conversations, please feel free to reach out. The website will be on the screen in just a little bit. All that being said, I'm happy to bring on Kevin Griffin to today's show. Kevin, I'm going to look at my notes. Senior Vice President of Marketing Strategy at AdCom, based in the Cleveland area. Hopefully I've got it right. I want to say thanks for taking the time and joining me.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, Matt.
So let's just jump right in. Was there a point in time, and I'll let you, you could have been high school, could have been college, maybe earlier or later, where you personally realized, you know what, the skill of being able to communicate to a wide variety of people in a wide variety of settings is going to be important? Was there any point in time that kind of just flashed at you?
Yeah, it's interesting you ask, and I'm going to get really personal with you if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Yeah, so early on, where my family attended church and where we did our spiritual lessons, you had to get up and speak to people, even at a young age, and so you had to get up and give speeches and talks and sermons in front of an entire church. And they did that on purpose, right? So that you would learn at an early age how to be comfortable in front of a group of people. I didn't realize what that was training me for, quite frankly, Matt, at such a young age. But it's something that I carried through and throughout my career. And so the ability to communicate, not just verbally, but also in the written form, is something that's been really, really important that I've been able to do throughout my career and keep working on every.
You know, as it happens here in technology, we might have a little glitch with Kevin. Hopefully he can still hear me. We still got you? It's the way the world works.
I'm here. Did I lock up?
Still there?
Okay. Sorry about that. I'm here. Yep.
Got you. You know what? Hey, like we were talking before we went live. You know, hey, this is raw, and that's the real part of it. You know, tech glitches happen. I wanted to just segue because I think, and I'm going to ask what you're doing. I know a little bit about your past because when you and I first met, it was maybe 7-10 years ago. You were working within the NFL with a franchise, and I know you've got a 12 to 15 years of background in that space. But currently, with AdCom, and I want to just ask you, it looks like a big piece of what you're doing is kind of the intersection of how companies brand themselves in a way. And I wanted to just jump into that because that is a big piece of what we do here at Talk Shop, is to help younger students, if you will, understand that, yes, they are indeed a brand. So I wanted to just get your take on how you've seen high school and maybe college students successfully learn that they need to protect and put out their brand, but how they do that. So let me pause for a moment and see if that has either brought up any thoughts or any insight you've seen as to, or guidance you have as to how can people do that?
Yeah, so my career, throughout my career, it's really been focused in a couple of areas. Number one, broadcast communication, whether that's like producing TV shows, radio content, marketing. Really think about this in terms of whoever sits over top of marketing at an NFL team. That's what my roles were. So 9 years of the Seattle Seahawks, then executive role with the Cleveland Browns, really in that senior leadership role, overseeing all communications. Today at AdCom, my job is to work with corporate, or with our partners, our clients, quite frankly, that are Fortune 500 companies, some of the biggest brands that you all would know and usually consume. I work in the consumer brand side of the house. And so we talk oftentimes about how to position, how to connect, and think about overall how do you kind of change the hearts and minds of a consumer in order for them to trust you and engage with you. And oftentimes that engagement includes a transaction, so buying something. But specific to your question, as it relates to high school and college young people, I get firsthand knowledge watching my children, our 3 kids who are in middle school, high school, and college, and watch how they interact and try to position themselves not only within their schools communities, but also in their own community. And as our oldest prepares to go off to the real world and work. And so what I have really enjoyed is to watch our kids be really, really nimble around their social media channels. And so we have conversations all the time about, is that the appropriate image that you want to share on social media? Is that the appropriate message? And really for them to think about in the future, who else might be reviewing and looking at their social media channels. So I have this conversation with particularly college students because they're oftentimes thinking more about their career as opposed to high school, but it all matters. And so
Right.
I think it's number one, it matters because what the content you produce, but it also matters in helping you understand and being conscious of the image that you're projecting and putting out there in the world, because that's oftentimes people might not necessarily know you as in person, but they're certainly going to know and remember you off some of your social media channels. So that's what's been enjoyable and been interesting. And then, and I'm talking a little bit too much here, but then I've also noticed, because of our ability to text so often, and young people have come up with their phones in their hand and they've communicated through text more often than they have probably in person, that they've lacked the ability to get the comfort of being in front of people. And so that's something that we encourage. I know at our office, when we have interns from college, we ask them, hey, have you been in front? Have you considered when you go back to school, have you considered getting involved in speech and debate, or are there any clubs on campus that you can get involved with so that you can get comfortable with speaking?
All great stuff. And I'm not going to unpack all of it, but I want to just take it right down kind of the college student and the career readiness element, because you're right. And I agree that digitally it's easier, if you will, to brand yourself. You've got LinkedIn, you've got all the social media that, look, all of today's students are going to use, and that is a part of their brand. And there's companies out there now that are dedicated to make you aware, make the students aware, hey, you've got to be careful on that, because that's the first thing employers are going to look at. Sure. So I guess my question I wanted to get into, and you can pick any of your roles that you've had, where sure. I can only imagine how many people have asked you to network or connect with you, or meet for informational meetings or real interviews, all of those, where someone's presented themselves over an email to you, and okay, looks pretty professional. I like they've asked a question, been pretty, clear and concise. But then that didn't match up, or maybe it does match up when you get a chance to meet face to face, because the branding's got to be consistent, right? And in your words, in order for someone as a consumer to buy it, or in this case, to hire someone.
Yeah.
Maybe there are some tips and guidance that you could share from personal knowledge of what you've seen from today's college students, interns or whatnot, of how they're successfully branding themselves both digitally and in person.
Yeah, it's a great question, and the timing is incredible. Yesterday, I spent time with we have 12 interns in our agency this summer, and I spent time about 45 minutes with them, actually having this very conversation about how to present. The group was getting ready to make a big presentation to a potential partner and client, and so they have a project to do this summer, and so my job was to help them review and prepare for their presentation. And I'll share one thing with you that I think will resonate with maybe some of your viewers and listeners, and that is, we all like to consume content because this is how we came into the world with stories. We like stories. And so we try to focus on storytelling. And there's what I share with folks is when you're trying to communicate, if you can, deliver a story, and start with what the problem that you needed to solve was, and then get into what you actually did and the solution around that. It's nice to sprinkle in kind of the thinking and the strategy behind that, what went into your decision making, and then the results. And as you think about it, like from the earliest age we could probably remember, we've been fed stories as young people and grew up in storytelling, right? And so it's easy for the other person on the other end, the receiver, to understand and get to know you when you can tell a really great story. But I think the structure of the story is really important when you're trying to leave an impression on someone. So make sure you have what you're trying to do, how you solved it, the thinking behind it, and the results. And that usually can have a lasting impact on the receiver.
And I love that, because look, storytelling, and I use that almost the same terminology as there. You've got to, as meaning today's students really need the ability to communicate and articulate their personal unique story, because everyone has one.
Yeah.
As a broad sense, but specific to if someone's meeting with you at AdCom, they should do a little research, of course. All of those pieces are, I don't want to say assumed, but they should be able to do that. What's the most creative and successful way that someone's networked with you, just to get on your radar?
Yeah. So I don't know if I have too many really good stories to share with you there, but I can share a personal story of a friend, and she so badly wanted to work in the NFL. She's from Canada. She played football growing up, tackle football, and in fact, she ended up playing semi-pro professional women's football. And so she had been sending resumes to the NFL for I would call it 18 months, and was not getting any information back from the NFL. So she decided to actually send her resume on a football. So imagine one of those paneled white footballs, and she wrote everything she needed to write down on that football, and then she mailed it to the NFL, and it got people's attention. And in that message was, if you can catch this pass from me, then imagine how really great of a quarterback I am, and I'm here to quarterback your teams. And so because of the creativity, because of knowing people's hypersensitivity to understanding the brand of football at the NFL office in New York, she got a phone call. And 15 years later, she's still there at the league office. And I've always found that to be one of the really cool stories in terms of how to get somebody's attention. We might not all have that creativity, but even if we approach our networking with that type of mindset, I think that makes sense. And it goes back to something you said, which is do the research and understand what gets people's attention.
That's a great story. I love that. And I'm just going to make a quick side joke because I can't resist.
Yeah.
Good thing she was interested in football and not baseball. That would have been a little tougher.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's right. Yes.
Anyhow, no, great story because look, and some people overthink it, but look, everyone's trying to find my overarching goal there is every student is trying to find that unique differentiator. How can they rise above the competition? And now more than ever, it is extremely competitive just for jobs, the opportunities. And this is pre-COVID, now even more so. In my personal opinion, you can get creative with those examples that you just shared, which is fantastic.
Sure.
It'll catch someone's attention. May not work all the time, but it'll catch someone's attention. But I think what really will help separate is the ability to articulate who you are, to share the story, like you said. So I appreciate you sharing that. Is there any advice that you were given, maybe as you were breaking in to the ranks, that is just always stuck with you, that when someone asks you the question like this, hey, Kevin, was there ever any advice or guidance that just has stuck with you and has lasted and, kind of tested it over time? Anything that you can share?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think and this is easier as we get older, but really to understand who you are. And so the ability to articulate maybe your personal philosophy is important. I wouldn't expect anyone who's in high school or college to be able to do that, but it's certainly aspirational by the time you reach, call it your 30s. So really clearly have an understanding of your values, and you can express those values. And also, I like to ask people when I'm interviewing them where they have felt that they've been at their best, and where they have felt where they've been maybe they've not necessarily been happy. Not necessarily the job that they were doing or the tasks that were asked, but really I'm trying to dig in and understand what kind of environment and type of people they want to be around. So those are things that kind of ring true. The other part of this, Matt, and this is the most important piece of advice I will ever give, I think, young people, and that is make sure you work with people that you really respect and like. That doesn't mean they need to be your best friends, but they need to have values that are like yours. So whatever that means to you, whatever your value set is, that's important. It's really important because we spend a lot of time at work with people that are not our family. And so you need to be able to get along and understand them. And lastly, I know you asked for one and I just gave you three. Nothing is forever. The one thing that is consistent is change. And so we have to be prepared for change throughout our lives and everything we do. And so that mentality for me reminds me that every day I've got to learn a new skill or learn something so I can keep getting better. But if we stay constant, we will get left behind. So continuing to make sure that you're enhancing your skills and learning.
Adapt, pivot. Innovate. Absolutely. What everyone and anyone is doing right now should definitely apply to a college student, no doubt. All right, Kevin, last question. Someone's networked themselves to the point where they've gotten with you face to face, or in this day and age like this over the computer screen. Maybe there's a short list of one. Maybe there's a few things that capture Kevin Griffin's attention. What is that?
Ooh, that's a good one. I really like people who don't know the answer. So they have the humility to say, hey, I'm not necessarily sure I know that. And I like to see how people put in processes and put processes in place, where they can use the collective energy of people around them, whether that's their team or family members or others, to help solve a problem. But I think, as I think about this question, it really comes down to problem solving for me. I like to see creativity. And then how you use that creativity to solve a problem. So it kind of goes back to storytelling, right? The only way you articulate that doesn't come across in a resume. doesn't come across in LinkedIn, that comes across in storytelling. So problem solving is a big part of what attracts me. That's what I think I like most.
Yeah, and sorry, the thing that just jumped in my head is, and I guide college students all the time on this. I said, look, find out if you can, what are some of their problems? Be a problem solver. Don't be a problem creator.
Absolutely.
People want that. So
Yep.
now I'm not putting those words in your mouth. I just am echoing and maybe adding a little something there for good measure. But
Yeah.
Kevin Griffin, I always like to let all the guests that come on, maybe there's a website, a blog, there's an initiative, anything that you want to promote or make people aware of. Maybe you want to say, hey, reach out to me on LinkedIn, whatever it is that you would like to do.
Sure.
Want to make sure I give you that opportunity.
Yeah, always reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm there on LinkedIn. I don't know exactly what my LinkedIn profile URL is, but you can find me Kevin Griffin on LinkedIn. I'm in the Cleveland area. And then, something I would suggest folks do is find as many of those newsletters that you can, that are digital newsletters that are in the industry that you're interested in, and learn about your industry and stay top of mind of what's going on in the world. So the Morning Brew is something that I read every day. And I've got about 4 or 5 different newsletters that I read every morning. And it just keeps me fresh on business and in things that are going on in and around the industries in which I'm in. So that's what I would encourage folks to do.
What a novel concept. Being informed. Wow.
Yeah, reading. Yeah.
Reading and being informed. Sorry, I got to make a little humor there, but I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Anyway, those that want to reach out, Kevin Griffin, his name is right on the screen and now is on the screen. If anyone would like to reach out and learn a little bit more about Talk Shop, the programs that I deliver to both high school students and college students, please feel free to reach out. And if you found there's some great content, which there absolutely has been in this video, I highly encourage you to go out and share it, because that's what's going to get people to be aware of it. So again, Kevin Griffin, thank you for taking the time. Some great stuff there, of course, that you shared. We look forward to staying in touch in the future, but thanks again for sharing some good insight for today's students.
You're welcome. Good to connect with you again. We'll see you.